What is up, Rumble? What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show. I'm your host, Ryan Matta. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We're going to be doing a great interview with a friend of mine, Matteo Pellegrini. He is the owner or co-founder of the Bitcoin app. It is the app that you see on the thumbnail. You guys can actually swing over and do me a huge favor. Follow them over on Twitter and on X. Here's their X account. You can also scan this QR code that's on your screen right here, and you can actually download the app and you can see what we're going to be talking about. It's really awesome. And then also swing over and follow Matteo as well. He's over on X, and you can see his username right here in the screen. And all those links are down below in the description. So before I overtalk it, Matteo, welcome to the show, man. It's an honor to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much for the invite. Glad to be here.
So why don't you give us a little quick introduction? Tell us about yourself, how you got started into Bitcoin, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds good. So I'm Italian. You can probably tell from my accent. Excuse me. I've been in technology companies since I was 19, pretty much, and eventually I ended up living in the U.S. First New York, and then Los Angeles. And while I was in Los Angeles, I got into this thing called Bitcoin. Unfortunately, not the first time I heard it because I thought it was a scam, as many people have the same experience. But yeah, that's a different story. And then I read all the books. I listened to all the podcasts. I went to Miami, 2021, and I met all the Bitcoiners. Like, wow, this is amazing. And then when I got back to LA, I'm like, I need to find more Bitcoiners where I live. And so meetup.com, find a meetup, drove an hour, because of course in LA, everything's an hour. And then I got there and it's like, well, it's 2021. And so half of the people at this Bitcoin meetup were not really into Bitcoin. We're like NFT, Ethereum. And I'm like, I just want to be Bitcoiners, And so on the way back home, I looked at all the buildings. So I live in Santa Monica. So I'm driving back and I look at all the buildings around me and I was like, there's got to be more Bitcoiners here in Santa Monica. So I actually Googled it, and it's 400,000 people living in Santa Monica. It's like, even if it's 1% or half of the 1%, it's going to be at least 1,000 Bitcoiners nearby, right? But how do I find them? And so that's how I got the inception of the idea of how do you find local Bitcoiners. And that's how I eventually end up with the Orange Pill app, which is, the solution to that problem.
So tell us a little bit about that app, because a gentleman, I've been on it now for about a week, and a gentleman just reached out to me. He's a couple hours away. They're having a Bitcoin meetup. He was able to find me, invite me to this meetup. So can you guys kind of explain to everybody how this app works, what it is, and why you designed it?
Yeah, sure. So the way it works is quite simple. So think about a social network that is geolocated. So we use the approximate geolocation. Obviously, it's not precise because we don't deliver pizza. So we don't need to know where you are. We just need to know a rough idea if you're in LA or if you're in San Diego or New York or London, whatever. And then we show you nearby users, nearby members. By the way, very important point to make is that the app is completely paywalled, meaning you have to get a membership to get in. So think about like kind of like a private club. And the reason why I've done that route, because one, this is only for Bitcoiners. And so, if it's free, you're going to get a lot of stuff that you might, the beautiful lady that you see on the app might not be a lady if it was free. So they're not beautiful ladies. No, there are some beautiful ladies, but they're actually real ladies. So number one, everybody has to pay. And so that filters out all the noise. And also we don't have to do ads. So we don't do any ads. There is no tracking. It's like you pay to use the product instead of you being the product, right? Which is the model of Twitter and Facebook and TikTok, blah, blah. And then we have the geolocation, approximate geolocation, to show you nearby members that you can connect their profiles. You see Ryan, it's in Bitcoin, has a podcast, whatever it's in your profile. Okay, I like this guy. Let's chat with that guy. And then you say, hey, let's go for a beer, right? So that's the biggest part of the app. Then we have events. So you can see all the meetup nearby or all the conferences. Or even if let's say you want to have a dinner at your house and you just want to have Bitcoiners to come, you can post it as an event, Bitcoin carnivore dinner.
Yep.
And then the last piece that we just added a month ago is merchants. So now you can also find merchants in your area that accept Bitcoin. And, so basically it's all about, this app is all about going offline instead of staying online. So you use the app to find somebody or an event or a merchant in your area, or when you travel, the moment you land, you open the app, right? And you go there to meet other Bitcoiners. That's pretty much that's the goal of the app, and that's what I've been doing for 15 months. I have so many crazy stories. If you want me to tell you some, I will do it gladly.
Yeah, man. Tell me some more of these stories. I'm so interested. This app was so cool. I've heard about it. I was kind of telling you before I got online. I heard about this app. I was hearing people talk about an app where, there might be somebody in your area that will accept Bitcoin to do tile work. I was just renovating my house and I'm looking for all these new contractors to do certain jobs I couldn't do. Lo and behold, not only could I have found a fellow Bitcoiner, why wouldn't I? If I want to hire somebody to work on my house and there's two people and one of them accepts Bitcoin, the other one doesn't, I'm definitely going to want to hire the one that accepts Bitcoin. So it was really cool to hear about. And then when I found it and I realized what it was, I was so excited. I instantly bought the lifetime membership, which I also thought was pretty cool, that you give people the opportunity to pay one time and that's it. And then you get to use the app forever, which is really nice considering everything is you own nothing and you'll be happy. At least I own this subscription for life. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, tell me these stories.
Yeah, so there's a lifetime membership, which, actually it's 15% end up getting a lifetime, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because, every app is free. Yep. And the lifetime membership is $100. And we have all these members. And that shows the dedication of the Bitcoin community, which is amazing, obviously. I think this model will never work in the fiat world. Because in the fiat world, everything has to be free, which obviously is not free, but it's kind of a disease of the fiat world. But back to the story. So probably my favorite story ever was this guy. You might know him. It's called Matteo Pellegrini. He won a championship with LeBron, basketball player. He joined. I don't know if you know that guy. It's a famous Bitcoiner. It's probably the only Bitcoin in the NBA it's the only player in the NBA that's all in Bitcoin. I talk about Bitcoin all the time. Anyway, he joined the app. So we launched a Pacific Bitcoin 2022 in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And he was playing against the Lakers on that weekend. So he downloaded the app day one. I had no idea, by the way. I'm Italian. I don't follow NBA. I barely know LeBron and Jordan, and that's it.
I'm with you.
I have no idea about this guy, right? So at the beginning, we only had like 200 users. So I would chat with everybody, right? As my job as the founder, like, hey, tell me about what you like, what you don't like, blah, blah. So I see this guy and I'm like, this sounds like a bot, like, looks very professional, looks like an athlete. So I Google it and I say, oh, it's an NBA player. What is an NBA player doing on my app that I just launched 2 weeks ago, right? How does he even know about this app? So then people start telling me, hey, man, I just went to an NBA game, free tickets. Somebody invited me from the app to go to this game against the Dallas Maverick, whatever. Wow. And then after the game, I spent an hour on court with the guy. So I go back, okay. So in my mind, it's like, okay, this is going to be the same guy that I didn't know it was an NBA player. So I talked to the guy, I said, hey, what's going on here? Well, tell me more. Like, say, oh yeah, man, I love this app. Every time I fly into a city, so he plays in NBA. So, every weekend he goes somewhere. The first thing he does, open the app, see who's nearby, and invite him to the game. And then they meet, courtside ticket, free family tickets. And this is for $3, right? Because the monthly membership is $3. So for $3 a month, people will just get invited by a champion NBA player. So I asked the guy, So what, that's that's an incredible story, of course. And he said, well, look, I have 180,000 followers on Twitter, right? If I tweet who wants a free ticket for Sacramento Kings against Maverick, I'm gonna get 1,000 DM. No idea who these people are. No idea if they're even in Dallas, let alone if they're in Bitcoin. So he's never done that. But with the Orange Pill app, you know where people are, generally speaking, and they're in Bitcoin because they had to pay to get into the app.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are so happy that there's pictures of on basketball court. It's amazing.
Wow, what a cool story, man. It really, and it almost brings tears to your eyes just hearing about, Bitcoin just brings so many people together in such a good, positive way. And you've built this app that now allows everybody to interact and connect with each other. Is there any more stories like that? You said you got a couple. That was really good, man.
Well, so there's another one. So that's probably the most, kind of incredible when you think about it.
Yeah.
Especially because it was so early. Like, we just launched. The guy was in from day one. There's another story. So there's a guy in Florida. I don't know if he still does that. He's a pilot. He's a airline pilot, some kind of, and he would just go on the app in Florida and say, "Hey, do you want to come to my plane?" And he would take people on the plane, like leisure flights above Miami, completely free. Like a small plane, obviously not the airline. He has his own plane, and would just take people out for a ride on a plane, again through the app, because it's kind of so it's kind of like the best way to understand it. It's basically a private club for Bitcoiners. That's only $50 a month. It's not expensive, but because it's not zero. So here's the thing: the difference is between zero and non-zero. When it's non-zero, people instinctively know, oh, this guy is probably a real Bitcoiner, and there's an element of trust from the beginning. Which is what enables all these unique experiences. That somebody, I think, is about to get married through the app. Yeah, and there are not a lot of women on the app, but it's somebody found one, and now they're about to get married.
Wow, that is so cool, man. What a journey. So tell me about your first days getting into Bitcoin, and was there ever a point where you held altcoins besides Bitcoin? The reason I ask is because I got a lot of new people that are getting into Bitcoin for the first time, and they look at Bitcoin and go, yeah, Bitcoin's 63,000 right now. I can't afford a whole Bitcoin, so I'm going to go out and buy this shit Ethereum or whatever other, quote unquote, claiming to be decentralized project that's not really decentralized. Was there ever a point where you looked at anything else but Bitcoin, or were you always just a straight Bitcoiner?
I wish it was the case that I didn't buy any cheap coins, but I had a crazy. I got into Bitcoin, let's say 2017. Maybe I got my first Bitcoin at 2017. It was like 2,000, 3,000, very 600. It's very cheap. Right? Then it went all the way to 20,000, and then in my mind, I'm like, oh, I know what's cool. So I have a background in technology, right? So I had technology companies pretty much all of my life, right? So in technology, the first version is never the best version, right? That's how it goes. Technology gets better every single time, right? That's how it goes. So in my mind, I thought of Bitcoin just a technology innovation. And I said, well, Bitcoin is cool, but there's going to be something better. So literally January 2018, which if you go back in the chart is at the beginning of the bear market, right? Yep. I had this strategy, which is going to be fun. It's going to be funny to hear it. So the strategy was every day a shitcoin go down 10% or more that is in the top 100, I would buy it. That was the strategy. And this is at the beginning of the bear market. So every single day, I would go log in at the same hour. I had a method like this at 9 a.m. You see what's last 24, blah, blah. Anyway, so after like a month, I pretty much had every single coin in the top 100 because every coin went down at 10% or more.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 days in a row. Oh my God, I have to buy more of this thing. Okay, great. That's the strategy, right? So 2 months in, 1 month in, my little brain finally figured out that this was not a great strategy. Like I stopped buying shitcoin on Binance. I said, okay, I'm done with Bitcoin. I'm done with crypto. Like this is a disaster. But I still had this, I still had this think about Bitcoin because of Naval. I don't know if you know Naval Ravikant, Angel Lee's technology guy. So
Yep.
I knew that guy from my technology life. And I know he was not a scammer. And he kept talking about blockchain and Bitcoin. I was like, why is this guy talking about this thing, which is rubbish?
Mm-hmm.
And then summer of 2018, the Bitcoin standard come out. Seyfriedin, Bitcoin standard. So I study economics in university. So I'm like, okay, this is Seyfriedin is an economist. I study economy. Maybe I should read this book. I never read any book up to that point. So I read that book, and that's when I actually understood that Bitcoin is not a technology. It's not just a technology. It's a monetary asset. It's a new form of money that has all these properties, and you cannot improve on something that's pretty much perfectly money. And that's when I switched. I remember after that book I went back to Binance, and like I was like, I need to sell all these shit coins that I got and just get into Bitcoin. And I promise you, I think maybe 1/3 that were completely delisted after 6 months. So zero.
No shit.
Yeah. I've learned my lessons.
Yeah. So did you sell for a loss into Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, big time.
And you're just happy just walking away because, and can you tell me a little bit about, when you're buying into these shit coins and you're watching them, like you said, go 10%, 10%, 10% off, and it just keeps going down, like mentally it wears on you. So can you tell us a little bit about like what it was like? Like, was there a weight lifted off your shoulders when you stopped DCing into shit coins and watching your portfolio go 10% off and then got into something like Bitcoin where you could just sit, peace of mind, just put your money into it and know 5 years or 10 years from now that it's going to continue to go up in value?
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely like, again, I wasn't putting all my net worth in this shitcoin thing that I was doing, but it definitely was a lot of money, especially back then. And yeah, when I found out that Bitcoin is kind of is the only thing that really matter in crypto land,
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, this is so easy now. All I have to do is to stack sats. That's the goal. Accumulate as much stack as you can, and that's it. Don't worry about anything else. Which obviously worked out pretty well since 2018, 2019. I mean, can't complain, obviously.
Yeah. And what's really cool too about this app, and if you guys want to help me stack some sats, if you guys scan this QR code and you sign up for an account, every person that you refer to, they are rewarded with a little bit of sats, correct? If I'm not mistaken, how does that referral program work?
Yeah, so it's actually now the Bitcoin, it's 65, whatever. I actually have to change the rewards because it's 10,000 sats, which in dollars is 6.5, whatever the price it is. And the membership is $3, $4, whatever, depends where you are. So basically the first month is kind of free. Actually, it's not free. You can make $2 on top of the free month. But yeah, so everybody gets 10,000 sats when they sign up through a referral. And it's just a way to grow the network. But at some point, I have to scale it down to maybe 5,000. But as of today, it's 10,000 sats.
Wait, so you're saying that if somebody uses my QR code right now, they're gonna get 10,000 sats, and I'm gonna get 10,000 sats just for signing up? Oh, you guys hear that? That's sweet. I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah,
so it's free, completely free. You make money signing up.
Yeah, don't tell everybody, please.
Until you change that. Wow, that's so cool, man. So where do you see this? I know you're on a time limit, so we got about 15 minutes left. How are you feeling about the Bitcoin market? What's going on with ETFs, global adoption? What are you seeing? What would you like to relay to our audience about Bitcoin?
I mean, the price to me, it's kind of irrelevant. I know it's not sexy to say that. I'm already in a, mentally speaking, I'm already in a Bitcoin standard.
Mhm.
And so the price in whatever fiat currency you happen to live under, it's not exactly that interesting to me. I mean, of course, it's better if it goes up than down, that's for sure. Since we're still in this world that, when you go out, you have to spend fiat. So obviously, it's good that Bitcoin price go up. You can do more with your Bitcoin. You can buy more stuff. You can do more, travel, experience, whatever it may be. I don't do price prediction. Sorry to disappoint you. In my mind,
No, you don't
Bitcoin is
disappoint
going
me at
up
all.
forever.
Mhm.
It's. So here's what I would say. There is, well, number one. So one thing that, for example, one thing that convinced me that this thing was gonna stay was seeing all the cycles, price crash 80%, sometimes even 90%, and then it goes up again more. So obviously, this is something that the market is telling you something, because nothing goes down 90% and then goes back up more if it's a scam, if it's a Ponzi, if it's a fraud, if it's just meme stock. Nothing works like that in the real world. So that's one thing that was really, for me, was really like, oh, there's something going on here. The other thing is that, so think about all the stocks you can buy, right? Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, you name it. They have CEOs, they have advertising companies, they have marketing teams, R&D team, right? There is thousands of people working to promote that company. Bitcoin is literally nobody. And yet is the best performing asset in human history, with no CEO, no marketing, no advertising, no referral program, none of that. And so to me, that was also another kind of like signal through the noise. Like, what is this thing that's going up so much without anybody behind it? Then it crashes and then it goes up even more. It's a very, for me, those were the two signals. Like, hey, this is something that it's completely transformational. It's not just a new financial asset. It's something that it's a paradigm shift, which now 15 years after the invention, now we have the ETF, so Wall Street is in, like, pretty much, everybody can buy Bitcoin now. There's literally nobody that can say, well, I can't buy Bitcoin. So yeah, price wise, I'm like, it's going up forever. I mean, first time I bought Bitcoin was $600, right? Now it's 60,000. So I've seen personally the price go up 100 times.
Yeah.
Which in the fiat world, nothing goes up 100 times. Literally nothing.
Nope.
And so in my mind, it's going up another 100 times in the next 5 to 10 years. It's like, it's not crazy. It's like, it's the normal path of Bitcoin going to become the global reserve currency, or whatever it might end up being the final scenario.
Yeah.
So if you're just stuck in, so what I say to my friend, like, look, the price is going to be volatile because it's priced in fiat, and the fiat world is very volatile. It's not Bitcoin volatile. It's the fiat world that is volatile. There's wars, there's election, there's printing, there's code, there's all this kind of stuff. Bitcoin is still the same thing today, yesterday, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it will be the same thing today, tomorrow, and 5, 10 years from now. And if you own, it's the only thing in the universe that cannot be printed or cannot be created more. There's nothing else. If you like gold, there's asteroids full of gold. And at some point, we're going to be able to mine those things.
Okay.
There is no asteroid with Bitcoin. You can look for it. We won't find any Bitcoin anywhere in the universe. So it's a very unique asset, and just stack as much as you can, and don't look at the price every day. Don't do leverage. Don't try to time the market. Just think of it like a saving account. You buy, you hold it, price go up, you keep buying, maybe you sell, maybe you spend it. So, one thing that I kind of drive me crazy, Ryan, is people that say, well, I don't want to spend my Bitcoin. And I'm like, but you were going to spend the fiat, right? So you're paying $100 for a dinner, let's say. And let's say the restaurant take Bitcoin. Why don't you just convert the dollar into Bitcoin and then spend the Bitcoin?
100%.
You haven't spent any Bitcoin. You have spent the fiat through Bitcoin. The same thing, right? But people somehow they can. It drives me crazy every single time I hear, no, I don't want to spend my Bitcoin. I say, okay, don't spend your Bitcoin. Just buy it before you spend it, and that's it.
Yep.
And you grow the circular economy, right? So that's also going to be beneficial for the Bitcoin asset. If more people accept Bitcoin, if all you care about Bitcoin is the price, let's say, businesses and people touching Bitcoin, dealing with Bitcoin, it's only going to be beneficial to the Bitcoin asset. So yeah, that's my overview about Bitcoin.
I think you're 100% right, especially on the utilization of Bitcoin. The more we use it, the more volume there is, the more trading there is, the more everything. And you said you're building this secular economy around Bitcoin, so supporting it by using it completely makes sense. I agree with you 100%. What is your message to the people that say Bitcoin 63,000? I can't afford a whole Bitcoin, so I'm going to go out and buy some random shit coin. How do you reach those people and convince them that, like, hey, your best investment is, and do you think it is, like, now I'm visualizing everything in sat value, right? So I see something that's $5 and I'm instantly like, okay, roughly about 5,000 sats roughly, so I'm calculating everything in sats now. And when I'm buying Bitcoin, I can't afford to buy a whole one right now. I bought about 15,000 in the last 3 weeks, and I'm visualizing it all in sats. So now it makes me feel so much better when I'm like, oh yeah, man, I just bought like 6 million sats versus 4,000 something like 0.01 Bitcoin, right? Why do you think people don't go into Bitcoin and they try to go into these other low cap projects? Is it just greed or stupidity?
Well, there's definitely this thing called unit bias, no doubt. Humans want to have more units of something instead of a percentage of one unit. That's just one of the many cognitive biases that we have. One way to think about this is like, so if I match and say, hey man, do you want to invest in my company? You can buy 1,000 shares for $1. What would you ask me? Would you ask me, what is your next question? I say, hey man, buy 1,000 shares. It's only $1 each share. What would be your question? How
many shares are there? What's the market cap?
Exactly. It's not how many units you have. It's what percentage do you own. That's what matters, right? Because if I have a 10 billion shares, your 1,000 shares, it's like 0.0000, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't really matter, the units. It's about the percentage. That's what matters, right?
Yeah.
And also it's about, you have $5,000, let's say, to deploy, to invest, right? Okay. With this $5,000, if you put in this container called Bitcoin, right, they might go up 10x, let's say. And then it doesn't matter how many units you have. It matters how much is 5,000 is going to grow in the future. It doesn't matter how many units you get, right? Like, would you rather own a piece of Central Park, or would you rather own a garden in, I don't know, North Korea? Which one would you rather own?
Right. Yeah, Central Park.
It's the same idea, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. The same idea.
I really like that analogy. So where do you see your app going over the next year, 2 years? How many users do you currently have on it? And what do you have any goals that you're trying to achieve? Do you have any strategies that you're trying to, onboard more people? Is it just doing interviews? What strategies are you using to bring more users into your app?
So we're actually about to pass 10,000 members, probably before the halving.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's again, this is all people paying. It's not just 10,000 users that just sign up. This is like members. So that's the goal between now and the high. I think we're at 9,600 right now. So there's 400 to go. The strategy is like, obviously there's a referral program that is very, very generous. At some point I'm going to change the reward, but
it should.
The way I see it, Ryan, it's like, if you build something of value, you don't need to do a lot of marketing or advertising.
Correct.
You just, if you bring value to people, they will use your product. That's it.
GoPro.
There's not an amount of advertising you can do to convince people to use something they don't want to use.
Yep.
It just doesn't work like that.
GoPro never spend a dime on advertising, and they have one of the best products out there.
I mean,
and it's everybody. You have to have it if you're doing extreme sports and you're filming it. GoPro is literally your kind of your lifeline. You know, it's so good. And I think your app is kind of similar. You're right. You really don't have to market it because you're adding so much value to the user.
Right. And all the users, the other cool part of this, Ryan, is that something very counterintuitive. Because people pay to get in, once they get in, so we start from zero. Think about how crazy this was. We start from no user whatsoever. And then the first time the user, they paid, and then maybe there's one guy in Canada or one guy in New York, obviously, right? Everything starts from zero. And instead of complaining, what they did, they go out and tell other people to join the app, which is very counterintuitive to what a free model would work. Because they paid, they kind of locked into the idea, into the platform, into the product. And then it's kind of like we're on the same side of the table. So me and the members, we're all trying to do the same thing, like growing the network, having more people around so that you can have more in real life connection with Bitcoiners. And so, I mean, there's plenty of people that have done more marketing than I've done as the CEO, and they're just members. So, and that's why I think we've been growing so fast, is because the community aspect, it's so strong. And also because Bitcoiners are so rare in the world. You know, like if you think it's 1% of the world in Bitcoin, which obviously is less than 1%, that means 99 people out of 100, they're not into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So finding them is very difficult, or time consuming, or very expensive if you go to a conference or a meetup, right? And so through this app, you just download it, you chat with people, and next thing you know, I give an example. I was in New York last July, and so I landed in New York. Obviously, I message everybody, 10 people, 15 people. Oh, actually, there's 20 maybe, I don't know. And the next day, literally, I spent 3 days in New York. I had a wedding, and the next day I had a meetup with these people, 5 people. I landed, I didn't know them. 2 days later, I was hanging out with them, which is already amazing. And then one of them was working at a startup that was incubating at Wolf Accelerator. I don't know if you know about Wolf. They have probably the most beautiful building in New York, like 17th floor in New York City, in Manhattan, 360 views. I lived in New York for 2 years. I've seen places, but so this one said, "Hey man, do you want to see my office?" I said, "Sure, why not?" And he brought me to this place. It's like best view in New York ever. I didn't pay for anything just because I ended up with Bitcoin. So this is like, it's such an unlock of experience and opportunity that until you try it, it's really hard to understand.
Well, Matteo, it's such an honor to have you on the show. I know we're running right up on your hard stop. You got to get off here at 10:30. It's 10:28. So do me a huge favor. I know I got all your links to everything down below in the description. Again, if you guys want to download the app and join us over here on the Orange Pill app, you can scan this QR code. It's also on the thumbnail. But tell us a little bit about your personal Twitter account. Where can they find you if people want to reach out to you? Is it best to go directly through the app, obviously, or tell us anything you want to tell us about yourself before you take off?
Yep. So if you download the app, Orange Pill app, it's on Google Play Store, it's on the iOS Store. Now it's even a web app. You can DM me there. My name is Matteo Pellegrini, of course. On Twitter /X, I'm on Matteo Pelleg. And then Orange Pill app on Twitter as well. But the best thing is on the app. I check the app all the time, of course. So it's if you don't reach out, the best thing is to the app.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us here. It's an honor to have you. Anytime you get more time, you want to come back in, feel free to reach out. I'll be in California. I don't know if you're going to be there this summer, but I'm taking a trip there in a couple months, so
I will do
I'll jump
that.
on the app and see if you're in town. If you're in town, maybe we'll link up and grab a beer, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks again, Ryan.
No, thank you, man, buddy. God bless. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Later. All right, folks. If you guys get time, definitely swing down there. Check out that app. Again, Matteo's an awesome gentleman. You guys just heard the whole story over here. Maybe I'll get him back on, and when he has a little bit more time, we can talk a little bit more about Bitcoin and the future of Bitcoin. We're going to be doing 3 shows a day. My first show is over here on the Ryan Matta Show. This is going to be a strictly Bitcoin show. So if you guys are into learning more about Bitcoin, hearing from these other Bitcoiners, I'm going to be trying to bring on as many not necessarily Bitcoin maximalists, but for the most part, Bitcoin maximalists to help educate you. If you can't see the overwhelming trend here from everybody that I've brought on over the last 3 weeks, we all started doing the same thing. It was, oh, we heard about Bitcoin. Mindset, Bitcoin's too expensive at 600. Bitcoin's too expensive at 5,000. Bitcoin's too expensive at 20,000. And then it just goes up and up and up. And you're probably saying the same thing right now. Bitcoin 63,000. I only have $5,000 in my bank account. I want that American dream, instant gratification. I'm going to turn 5,000 into 500,000, and I'm going to be on the beach getting drinks and hanging out with all these girls, driving Lambos like Andrew Tate, when in reality, that's, probably never going to happen. Most people, how many people got into these meme coins, these political meme coins over the last couple of weeks? I know one of them was $10 a couple of days ago. Now it's down below $3. So those are pretty big swings. And when you take those swings, and the thing about these meme coins is versus something like Bitcoin or even some of these other bigger layer 1 proof of work projects where when they start to go down, if you're in a meme coin, you don't know if you're going to zero. You heard Matteo say it right there that he was into projects that he was going to DCA into going into the bear market as they went 10% off, 10% off, 10% off, 10% off. And then, he invested so much, took time off, came back 6 months later. By the time he realized he wanted to get into Bitcoin, a majority of those coins were delisted, completely delisted from the exchange. So he couldn't even sell them if he wanted to. That most likely will be you if you continue to play that game. Or you can buy a percentage of freedom, because I think that the amount of Bitcoin you buy today will dictate the amount of freedom you have in the future. It's almost guaranteed at this point. So the more stats that you can stack, and I strongly suggest trying to understand Bitcoin enough to where you start saving in Satoshis, everything that you buy. You're kind of equating that to how many Satoshis is that going to take. And when I'm buying, like I said, I bought 4,000 something last week at 65,000. I bought 5,000 or 4,900 at 72,000, another 5,000 roughly at about 72,000 as well. And, those buy orders were 6.7 million sets. So I'm trading $4,000 or $5,000 in these dirty fiat dollars for 6.7 million Satoshis. And when Bitcoin hits $1 million, right, that's 1 cent per Satoshi. And you can see where it goes. So best advice I can give you guys is just stack as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. Try to ignore the noise. Try to not pay attention to price. And every time you see a big pullback like this in these Bitcoin cycles, specifically in the bull runs, we were talking about yesterday at the danger zone where you get to a point right before the halving where there's normally a major black swan event. One market crisis. In 2020, it was the liquidity crisis. In 2017, we came right out of the bull run. Feds were raising interest rates. And here we are again at an opportunity where Bitcoin's starting to pull back. But even in the bull runs, you see those 20 to 30% pullbacks. And it normally doesn't pull back more than 30 ever. So I say from the top of where price peaks out at, anytime you see it start to pull back 20% or more, those are your real DCA opportunities. Those are the opportunities where they quote unquote say buy the dip. When Bitcoin's at 70,000 or 73 or 74,000 and it pulls back 5 or 10%, that's technically not really a dip. A dip, I think, is 20, 25, 30. And that's where you DCA yourself in. But if you started buying Bitcoin, when we were screaming about it over on LFA TV at, at 20,000, you probably have a good percentage of your portfolio in Bitcoin and an asset that's now up, a couple 100% from the time you bought in. So adding to that position is always a smart idea, in my personal opinion. Anytime you can get rid of your dirty fiat dollars and you can get them into an asset that's going to continue to grow and gain in value year after year, you can't make a smarter investment than that. So again, folks, we'll be over on LFA TV on their Rumble channel at 2 p.m. My political show is called Matter of Fact. If you want to learn more about how rotten and corrupt our government is, you want to hear about our government running the largest child trafficking network that the world has ever seen. We got the receipts. We can prove it. If anybody's listening to this, any politicians would like more evidence or to hear more about it, we've already sent it to you guys a couple times. But you guys need a refresher or course, you'd like to come on and learn more about it, or you'd like to go down to Texas and get a guided tour of these child migrant concentration camps. Some of these facilities hold up to 6,000 migrant children that have parents that miss them. So if you guys are into that kind of thing and you guys want to learn about politics, come join me over on LFA TV. My show is called Matter of Fact. And then we also do a nighttime show at 9 p.m. where I'm open to hold conversations with pretty much anybody in the blockchain industry. As long as you guys aren't trying to sell your project as the next quote unquote decentralized, get out of the rat race. You know, if you guys want to come on and talk about the tech and explain why, you know, there's a real use case for your project, I would love to have you. I'd love to have an open conversation about it. And yeah, smash that like button on your way out the door. Thank you guys for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you guys over at 2 p.m. on LFA TV's Rumble channel. And again, over here tonight at 10 p.m. or at 9 p.m. on the Ryan Matta Show on our Rumble channel and on YouTube. God bless you guys. Smash that like button. And we'll keep stacking those sats, folks. And it's going to be a wild ride. And I personally look forward to sharing that journey with you guys. God bless.
Run.